Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we are here with the final war of season 31, and it has been a messy season, but this war is kind of like a very good representation of that as well. We're definitely having a lot of exciting fights, and it is of all the alliances against my previous alliance, ASR. So shout out to the guys over there. I wish them all the best. And I am going to be using Nimrod, Mallman, and for the first time ever in Alliance War, Spiderman 2099. Now, mine unfortunately is unduped, but still we're going to do our best. Let's see how all of that goes. So in section 1, I am on path 5. And this is kind of the reason why we were looking at Spiderman 2099 as my offensive option because of the Dormammu fight. Because I just figured if I bring in Spiderman 2099, you know, not much of an issue here. Obviously, I do still need to recognize the fact that I need to keep knocking him down. But when I do, he's going to go debuff immune. So that's going to make fighting with Spidey much more annoying. But all in all, it seemed like a fairly safe matchup. I'm using the Indestructible 3 boost just because, you know, this is last war of the season. Might as well use them as we keep getting the compensation. And we're just going to flat out start here with knocking him down, getting that passive fury, increasing our damage by 40%, I believe. And on top of that, we do have class advantage and obviously the big boy boosts. And the fight's going well. Now, I will make a mistake at some point and get clipped. But for most part, I knew that this is going to be a fairly straightforward fight. I can, under no circumstances, get a buff on me. Therefore, I will never get to degenerate either. And that obviously is super helpful. Here is a nice timing where I can inflict debuffs on him and the Fury is still active. So I figured that is the ideal window to try and aim for when using a special attack. Now here, I forgot about the debuff immunity. I thought that my parry would register and I started charging heavy attack. And instead I ate his heavy attack. But it's not a big deal and I get clipped a couple more times here. But, you know, invulnerability boost for most part kind of ate it all up. And this level 2, the fight is over. Very simple, very straightforward. Now for the next fight, I have already changed my mastery setup. I activated Liquid Courage, Double Edge, because pretty much the rest of the fights, you know, are better off with that setup. I'm going to be using Mallman, Nimrod, and then in the end also Spiderman 2099, but we're going to get to that. So now we are going up against Kitty Pryde, and I basically just need to make sure that I knock her down. And then I get a passive fury and I get a ton of damage. Until then, obviously, I do need to mitigate her prowess. And that is actually going to get a bit spicier than it should be. Having played Nimrod as much as I have, I should have been more careful with which mode I am in. And at some point, I am going to let the prowess build up, unfortunately. Now, here I made a mistake. Here is the mistake where I got hit. She gained a couple of prowesses. Now I need to make sure that she doesn't get to dash back in at me. But then I remember that my specials are going to be unblockable. And with all of the fights, as soon as you get to level 2, you know, Kitty just dies, basically. Pretty much every single fight that I have been on, every single Kitty with Nimrod against Kitty Pryde, they always go down with one level 2. So that is so satisfying. All right, next fight's terrifying. And next fight, we were actually thinking quite a lot which champion to use, and we ended up with Mallman because there aren't really amazing matchups for displacement if Ghost is banned, because we have Bleed and Shock Hazard Shift, and you definitely need a Shock Immune champion because if you have active shock debuffs, then Doom is just gonna start slapping you silly. So I'm on max boosted, I have invulnerability 3, and the goal is obviously get to level 2 and nuke him down. Now in hindsight, having done this fight very poorly, I should have started with power start 1 and just kind of rushed it. But the goal is to build up my charges as much as I can. And here was the first mistake. I hit the level 1 and completely waste my Indestructible 3 boost. And also you can see that there is max Mystic Dispersion, which is going to push him to level 2s very easily. And the fight's, well, still very early on. And I'm in fairly tough spot, especially if he doesn't want to throw the level 3. And at this point, I was kind of starting to get very nervous. And, you know, I'm going to feel that. Like here, I did, you know, fine job punishing that. And here I should not absolutely have let him hit me on his block. Not right now, because bleed phase is active, and I'm kind of going in for the kill when I should have done, well, I should not have done that. I should have timed it with my shock phase, with the shock hazard phase. But nonetheless, here is the critical point. I activate my level 2, and I know for a fact another level 2 is going to kill him. So what I'm doing here, panically, watching both health bars go, I am pressing my level 2 button as early as I can. I am just tapping on my level 2 button as much as I can after I see that I have enough power. Unfortunately, Dr. Doom has enough time to get up and activate his own level 1 before the game lets me use my level 2. And as a result of that, I wasn't prepared to dex that, and I get KO'd. I know it's my fault. I know I played it worse than I should have. And it's stress, and I'm making no excuses. I should have played this better. This was always going to be a fairly finicky, tricky fight. But I definitely should have played it better. I was one level 2 button press away. But a death is a death. And this season, it's been interesting. It's been interesting. It's definitely not my cleanest season either. Right. So now, after I just typed in fudge in the chat, and going back in. So I have healed up my mole man. We're just going to quickly finish up this fight. There's nothing special happening. You know, I barely entered the frenzy mode, finish off the Doom without much fanfare. And now we're going on the bishop fight. So I'm going to be changing up my boosts. I am boosting all out in this war. So I'm changing up my boost. It's another hazard shift fight. And this, we're going to feel the fact that I'm slightly tilted here, because I'm going to completely forget about hazard shift and land the full combo, get 3 shocks he was placed on me at the very start. But that's all right. It's not the biggest deal in the world. I still have 80% of my health. And here the plan is going to be fairly simple. So I am just going to drop my level 1 to get the increased power rate, and also get energy vulnerability passive on bishop. Now I want to bait out his level 2 as the shock phase of hazard shift kind of expires. And then I want to drop my level 2 as my energy vulnerability is still active. Now I did activate it slightly too early, so I got very unlucky. Both of the hits that I make do trigger shocks on me, and I'm obviously taking damage here as well. But luckily I am very close to my level 2, and we're gonna be very close to finishing this fight off. This fight I have done like 3 or 4 times this season. It's always fairly annoying. You end up losing a fair bit of health, but Nimrod can definitely get it done. And we did it here. I did lose more health than I wanted to. I accidentally spoiled the score there, but I hope you guys didn't notice, and I'm gonna explain it all later. Anyways, now I need to take this Mojo. So ideally, I think it's probably best to take off Liquid Courage and Double Edge here, but I didn't want to take it off for just the one fight. So I knew that I'm going to end up using a couple potions that I otherwise wouldn't have to. But, you know, I made the decision, and I'm okay with that. So the goal here is obviously to apply Wither. Spiderman 2099 is going to be absolutely safe from Mojo's degen, because I can't have a buff on me. I can't have them expire. Now I just need to wait out until you know, that indestructible expires. Then I just need to bait out this level 1 ideally, and I do want to make sure that he still has some raptures on. And then I just want to drop my level 2 and see how much or little damage it does. But you know, at this point Mojo is at like 30% health. Here I realize that I should start probably hitting his block, and fortunately get caught by that level 1, but it doesn't do all that much damage. Mojo's level 1 is actually really not hitting hard at all, and I'm just going to finish off the fight with a level 1. So that wasn't too bad at all, but we are not done yet. We actually have a couple more fights to do. We have this Toad mini-boss. I accidentally nearly pressed undo my move rather than move to the Toad. So against Toad, we're obviously going to use Nimrod. And again, this was quite an expensive war. I had to heal up my both Spiderman 2099 and Nimrod. So against Toad, we're just going to go in with the Power Start 1 boost. I believe here I do make a mistake because I hadn't eaten up enough prowess at that point yet. but it's all good. He still has that energy vulnerability, and he is going to melt very quickly as soon as I get to a level 2 of my own, so I'm not like too worried at all in this fight. Did misplay it a slight amount, but it's fine. So I'm just going to go in there, drop my level 2, and I think that's the fight is going to be pretty much over. Nimrod absolutely destroys the mutants. Check this out. And this is a mini boss. This is a mini boss. He has like 64% health there, 59, so basically 60% health and 1 level 2, and that's it. Kaput. 1 dead toad. Right, and now we actually get to do the boss fight. So again, I'm changing up the boosts, putting on the science boost, and I'm going up against this green goblin. Now this is the first time ever I'm up against the green goblin boss and high ground, and it's actually not going to go as smooth as it should do. Now obviously, because he has True Strike active is the main reason why we're using Spiderman 2099, and that is because I'm consistently healing from liquid courage now. I'm healing more than I'm taking damage, and on top of all of that, you know, I'm taking a lot less damage from him in itself. So here I'm just going to go for level 2. Fight's going quite well. I did make the fight harder at the start for myself because I didn't wait for the first high ground charge to activate when I reached 10 combo. So that is a definite mistake that I made. And the rest of the fight, my plan was just to bait out, you know, heavy attacks, and that's pretty much it, because I do have quite a lot of room to play with health wise and damage wise, because I am reducing all the damage Green Goblin does to me by 3/4. Now the problem is going to be at a point when I'm going to lose my combo. So far, you know, he has 2 high ground charges. I'm trying to play as aggressive as I can to get rid of them, and I don't seem to be able to catch up to them. And he's going to have some high ground charges pretty much all the time. So I'm going to apply the physical vulnerability here just to have another debuff, because I am dexing fairly frequently, or at least was up until this point, and that is going to be an entirely different conversation. But I am going to end up losing my combo at a very painful moment, and because of that, we can see that already high ground charges are building, and this first part of the fight went really well. Now second part of the fight, he doesn't want to throw his level 1, and I'm gonna make a mistake, I think, at some point where I'm gonna get intercepted right now, where I should have just, you know, played safe and played in a block, and I'm still gonna make a couple more silly mistakes, but now I need to think more about finishing off the fight and intercept. And we can see that all that high ground damage is really starting to add up, because Green Goblin has gotten to 5 charges now at this point. That level 2 and level 1 in the block really did hurt, and I'm not doing myself any favors by not playing confidently, by not, you know, staying there all the time to bait out those debuffs. But now I drop another level 2. He is at 20% health, and I eat that, and I take the incinerate damage. And now all of a sudden, and there is a second poison on me as well, and now all of a sudden it's a very, very close fight, very bad situation where he has 5 high ground charges, can't take many hits on a block, and I really do need to kind of pull this one out. So this is a very nerve-wracking fight. I definitely could have played this better, should have played this better, but again, a bit of nerves, a bit of something else. And there are 7 high ground charges there. I baited out the heavy attack, and luckily I'm able to finish off the fight, thankfully, because by the end of it, I think he had like 7 high ground charges, and each hit on the block would be super painful. I only had 16% of the health left. So I definitely have to get back better at this game. I used to play this game at a better level, and due to all the issues that have plagued the game and everything else that has happened in my personal life and in the game in general, I feel that I have kind of let myself go. If this would be some real life fighting, I would not be calling myself remotely close to fighting shape. But at the same time, the changes that have been done to Alliance Wars and Alliance Wars Season have been for the better this time around. I must say there are obviously things that can be improved and has to be addressed. But altogether, this season, even though New Nation had a rough season, and we're going to finish somewhere in Masters, so that wasn't the issue, I enjoyed war much more than I did previous seasons. I want to acknowledge that. And that also makes me want to be able to play better again. That means that I'll want to practice more, I'll want to duel more, all that other good stuff. Meanwhile, unfortunately, we did end up losing this war. We ended up losing this war 8-9. But we would have lost this war on time either way. So even if I hadn't died to that Dr. Doom, which again is very regrettable and silly death, we would have ended up losing this war, unfortunately. And in this war, neither alliance really played their best, you know. Previous war, I think we finished with 2 deaths, and before that with like 3 or 4. And I'm sure same goes for ASR. When I woke up, it was quite shocking to see like inflated death counts. I think it was like 7-6 or something like that. And it was clear that ASR had given us all the opportunities in the world to win this war, and we had wasted it collectively as a team. And same goes for us. We gave, you know, we gave all the opportunity for ASR to win, and they did. So again, congratulations to ASR. Hope they finished season strong. Well, they clearly did against us. And I'm looking forward to next season. I hope this time we don't have a month-long off season. And hopefully we can get right back on it with season 32. Let me know how did your season go, guys. And I'm going to catch you guys soon. See ya.
Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about